prohibition of street parking beginning September 26th and continuing until paving is complete for Frederick Avenue and Connie Drive. These are two streets that we were going to be doing chip seal patching on, and they're actually heavily parked on, and so I'm just requesting permission for that temporary no parking to help assist to make sure that we have cars off the street while we're doing paving on those roadways. The letter you have before you is going to be, upon approval tonight, tomorrow will be basically placed on every front door, every house, and then every vehicle that's parked in the street. Making them aware of that. And then on Monday, the streets will be posted temporary no parking beginning Tuesday.
I'll make a motion for the second.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.
And to answer the question, Ms. Fisher's term ends December 31st, 2021.
21.
December 31st.
I was motioning Kennedy.
Yeah. December 31st, 2021.
Thank you. I am so sorry because my son used to say, would you please be the band chaperone at night? Because you sit out in the hallway when we go to these overnight competitions, you read a book and kids can walk right by you and you do not blink.
William Rose.
Yeah.
Resolution 2018-13.
Mr. Chair, you have two resolutions, 2018-13 and 2018-14, establishing the initial minimum municipal obligation. As we talk about that, we'll get better quantified in a month and a half from now. So Resolution 2018-13, Cocalico Township Police Department Police Pension Plan minimum municipal obligation in the amount of $611,815.70, and authorizing signature of the resolution by Romeo Carrasco, Chief Financial Pension Officer.
Motion.
Make that motion.
I'll second the motion. Any comments or questions?
What percentage increase is that over last year?
Last year was 462 and
Right.
change.
Something like that.
Mr. Russell, didn't you say you were expecting a lower number because of the market performance last year?
I will get back to you on what the numbers are. I have not looked at these numbers yet, so.
I remember an explanation by you in a previous meeting where you made the correlation between the market performance and the following year being a relatively easier MMO payment. Is that mistaken analysis perhaps? Or?
No, I will not say it's a mistake yet or not. If it, after I look at the numbers, I'll tell you if it's a mistake. This is the total MMO. What you're looking at is the MMO minus the contributions from the state and other things that go in there.
Right.
So I do not know right now how this ties in.
Contribution.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm not trying to be smart, I just don't know. And we just got these numbers today, so it's kind of a little bit of a scramble.
Any other questions? Okay. All, we have a motion and a second, right? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Resolution 2018-14.
Mr. Chair, the motion reads, Resolution 2018-14, East Cocalico Township non-uniform pension plan, minimum municipal obligation in the amount of $36,500, and authorizing signature of the resolution by Romeo Carrasco, Chief Financial Pension Officer.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, permission for annual Lidditz Area Mennonite School Trash-a-thon Thursday, October 11th. Rain date, October 18th.
Mr. Chair, you've approved this for many years now. Basically, the kids of the school are going to be going all over the area picking up trash. And this is basically an acknowledgement of that, and this motion is permission for the annual Lidditz Area Mennonite School Lambs Trash-a-thon to occur on Thursday, October 11th, rain date Thursday, October 18th. There's no road closures, it's just
And
acknowledgement.
they're well
Yeah.
chaperoned, and they have safety vests and gloves and everything else. Okay, I'll make that motion, we authorize them. Is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried, thank you. Old business. Traffic safety intersection, Woody Creek and 272.
No updates, sir.
No updates. EMS working group,
There are discussions occurring with Wellspan right now, and there might be a future date that will occur where there can be with Wellspan and a couple of EMS providers that will participate.
Stony Point sidewalk waiver.
I did get a couple documents from Landmark that will be on your agenda for next meeting.
Good. Beautification strategy for Cocalico Township.
I don't have an update on that one right now.
Okay. Gating woody waste to prevent illegal dumping.
That will be taken off old business and will be coming on new business where I actually have a plan together for getting woody waste.
Okay, good. Alerta ordinance draft, new business.
Mr. Chair, you have a copy of the alert ordinance draft. I gotta give our solicitor a lot of credit. We met on last Wednesday, and by Thursday I had the draft ordinance in my hand, and by Friday, you guys have the draft ordinance in your hand.
And this is basically what we said.
And it matches the white paper discussion. It was passed over to the school district on Friday. I talked with Dr. Musser on Monday. They were very satisfied with it. I asked them to forward it off to their solicitor. They did forward it off, and we got an email today saying that the school board, after reaching out to individual school board members, seems generally supportive, and the solicitor from the school district had no comment on the boards. They found no errors or anything that needed to be corrected.
Or disagreements.
So I do think you have a unique situation here. We were introducing this as new business. And I advised you when I emailed this to you that I was waiting for school district solicitor comments. When you have them, there are no comments.
So
What's our next step?
what if we had?
Next
We need
step
to
is to advertise.
I think we should send this to the county also.
I definitely agree with that statement. The county and Dr. Musser and I are going to get together next week about how we approach the county. But like we went through with UGI, they want to kind of see there's some progression before they even entertain us talking with them. And so I really think we have to do the step of advertising, so that and then we can say, just making you aware before you read this paper, and give them a copy of that. So I think they need to know that I don't think they'll look at it until we do this next step.
So really, there's no reason not to advertise
So we
it
can-
now.
So we should
Yeah,
advertise? Okay. You want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we actually advertise
This ordinance.
the alert ordinance.
I'll second, same.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, thank you. Update employee manual, job description, employee review process discussion.
Mr. Chair, you have before you a proposal from Nancy Hess. She does a lot of human relations consulting for a number of municipalities as well as for private businesses. I asked her to prepare a scope of work, and I'm going to read the scope of work in its entirety. The scope of work is going to look at job analysis. That would be task one. And the job analysis is going to look at questionnaires with individual employees, meet with employees as a group to explain the questionnaire, basically general information gathering. To support that, I've already had staff right now documenting and keeping a log of what they're doing every day, so that we will provide those logs to Ms. Hess for her to kind of incorporate to look at job descriptions, workflow, and make suggested improvements related to how we operate as a township in that area. Second is to develop job descriptions to include essential functions, required knowledge, skills, abilities, and other critical competencies, and to bring everything in accordance with the Fair Labor Standards Act. Begin to use that interview information and the logs that we're preparing to look at the job descriptions. Many of them just need to be updated. Some need to be created from scratch, some brand new. Prepare a summary and recommendations regarding jobs, including roles, scope of duties, reporting relationships, critical skills and knowledge, work resources, and the processes necessary to optimize work effectiveness and efficiencies. The fourth item of that scope is the work of management to revise and develop job descriptions to reflect current scopes of work and plan future changes. And the consultant will make changes as professionally indicated. And then solicit input from the employees regarding the draft descriptions and prepare revisions where professionally indicated. And that's about 45 hours worth of work to do that first task. Second task is personnel policy development to conduct an initial review and assessment of current practices, policies, and other relevant information. This will include a session with management to gather information regarding various work practices and current policies. Based on initial assessment and feedback, revise the current policies and create a new draft personnel policy manual. Include tracking notes to highlight areas where discussion is needed and show links between policies and applicable employment regulations. Third item is the work of management to revise and develop a manual which will address the needs of the organization and policies to guide management. Conduct and facilitate dialogues on key topics including employment, compensation benefits, workplace performance, and discipline. And perform ongoing research and communication with the client to revise and update policies to best reflect recommendation and client needs. She has 12 hours for that. And present the policy manual to management, review comments and suggestions and make revisions as professionally indicated. And she has a total of 40 hours for that. The third one is performance feedback. Meet with the board members individually to gather information on township priorities which impact budget and goals for staff. Facilitate discussion with the board regarding goals and how goals impact performance reviews and feedback process. Prepare a draft tool for performance review system. Work with staff and management teams to revise the tool to reflect the best fit approach to the township. And provide training support management for staff to assist with implementation, performance reviews, and feedback. She has a total of 24 hours there. So, in a nutshell, that's what she's proposing. That was information that I sent to her, requesting that information. As I talked to you in the past, we have not been doing employee reviews in the township. It's something I feel needs to change. We do not have a formal review process. I'm looking to use a consultant to jumpstart that process. Our employee manual needs to be updated to get current with state and federal law. Goal development, that is something, as we were talking about, putting a business plan together for the township. The first thing we need to do is have goals. That's the very first step to doing this process. As I talk to you and walk you through the process of that. And so it would be developing board goals, and then from the board goals would be manager goals and then staff goals. And that would be the very first step for basically putting together an overall comprehensive plan for the township. And also looking at our policies and procedures and where we can improve things and incorporate some of the feedback that we heard from the business community into those policies and procedures. So that's a proposal in a nutshell, introducing it to everybody.
Mr. Russell, does this person have abilities beyond your capabilities to be able to argue something?
I am not an HR professional. And this is not my, I'm an engineer, this is not my wheelhouse. People will tell you engineers do not have people skills. So this is not my cup of tea. I know I've managed people for a number of years. I've done hire, fire, I've done reviews, I got all that, but actually putting a program together, that's not my wheelhouse.
What's the anticipated cost of all these hours of this person's time?
The costs are for the first task, it's $5,600. The second task, it's $5,000. The third task, it's $3,000. That would be $13,900 rounded up, and that would represent about over 110 hours worth of work.
Through completion?
Yep.
Those are just estimates. Code could come in higher.
They're estimates, and yeah, they
Or
can.
some contracts?
No, right now, her proposal, she just has those estimates. I've worked with her both at her two and then East Hemphill Township. So I've worked with her on the private side.
She's not a two employee though.
She's not, she's independent. She's in her own company.
We had her do work before.
How long ago was that?
2006?
Seven, I'm not sure. Yeah, 6 or 7.
What was the end result of that? What was the purpose of it?
Well, I just know the date, I don't know the result. But that was good, yeah. Yeah.
What was the purpose of it?
Well, she was downstairs studying the police department.
Yeah.
And the operation of, not just the officers, but the office and everything else, interaction. Make sure we had the right number of people in place and right job description.
We've never, I don't know where the township ever had an HR consultant actually look at all our things that we
No,
touch.
no.
And I can tell you in the private sector, that's done routinely. So this is just kind of getting ourselves current. I looked at the employee manual and I saw things under my limited knowledge that were outdated. And I'm sure there's other things that we're not current with.
It's taken a while to get around to it though.
It has taken a while, and that's why I'm bringing a consultant. I would spend 3 times the hours and would have half as good a product before we get from her. Because I would love it through it. So I just wanted to introduce this to you. Yeah, on our agenda for the next meeting for action.
Okay.
And for our questions you have at me.
Okay.
Yeah. Four-year projection, initial draft.
All right, the initial draft is out for everybody on the table there. If anybody wants to take a copy. It is just that, it's an initial draft. Chief has already started putting together his 2019 budget, and he's actually pretty far along. And now his information comes to me, and I complete the general fund budget. That starts on Monday. My goal is to have to you guys by next Friday, a draft general fund, with the fuel fund, and capital reserve, the 3 big 3 in your hands for your review. And then I'll look at set individual meetings at the beginning of October, and look for October 4th meeting to actually advertise a workshop meeting to be held in October. We're about a month ahead of schedule from where we were last year, and we've actually gotten a little bit so far ahead of schedule with what we're doing that there's a lot of things that actually don't get determined until October, so we have to make some assumptions right now for a couple of the budget items, like our insurances right now. We will not have that in time for you guys at the end of next week. We will also, obviously, the MMO will be tweaked for next month and a half. And the county tax collection bureau has not yet released their numbers for their income tax. We won't get that until October either. But we have enough to get started, and I feel it's worthwhile to get started at this point.
Chief, is it too early to say where you are with your budget projections and where your actual numbers go?
I didn't hear the last part.
Where your budget projection was and where your numbers actually coming in? We're looking at somewhere around 12% increase from last year.
I believe if you take the MMO out, because I believe that's going to be changed and placed into the police budget, if I'm not mistaken. What I have worked up right now, which may change with the information that just came through by the cars, but I think we're at 8%, or I'm at 8% right now.
Where are you current year with the current year projection? Are you going to hit your number, come under it?
I'm hoping to come under it. I'm not sure what extent we're going to come under because from 2017's budget, we came significantly under, but one of the major things was we cut overtime. So for 2018's budget, they reduced the initial overtime number. I think it went from 115, I believe, to 90, and other factors in there. So the in certain things, the 2018 budget was reduced to reflect the 2017 budget, obviously. So I think I'm being reasonable, but there has to be some discussions here. But initially, it came in at, I think, just around 8%. So not the 12%, and I'm gonna hopefully not go to the 12, but if we can take the budget for 2019, purchase a bunch of items, which in 19, we're gonna have $39,000 for our record system, but then we're good for 4 years after that, where we're not paying anything extra. And hopefully we can do the same with the cars. I may even come back if we come under budget this year and request maybe we put a car under this year's budget, reallocate some funds and go from there to get those 2017 prices.
Okay. Managers report.
Mortgage car update, we already did the road dedication. Sometime in October, there will be a dedication for the stormwater facilities. Obviously, it's been very wet, so that's been challenging for all the land development projects right now. Heather Works update, there is actually no change. There has been more communication going on between Westland and Berkshire. I don't know if Mr. Goodman has any updates on that too, but
I talked to Chip Claus today, and they're getting numbers down to Lexon. He hopes by next week.
so they're talking on a weekly basis, which is positive at this point. Study Point, next week they will be paving the wearing course for the phase 1 and phase 2, which is pretty much all development. It's going to be paved on the 26th and 27th. Roadway dedication is anticipated to occur at the October 4th Supervisor. So that project is starting to wrap up too at this point. There was no rec board update because the meeting was canceled. Next meeting will be October. Stony Point Park Community Build update. The executive working group will be setting up a meeting in October with the consultant to prepare for design day. Kickoff meeting with Chairman Jim Wellman, myself, and consultant will occur on Monday by telephone. I do have a last minute ad that I want to talk about, and then this would be a form down the road, or probably will be addressed with Nancy Hess with a policy, and that has to do with credit cards. We have been approached, we're getting more and more issues where we have to have a credit card to do online purchasing, and in this case, we have a situation with GoDaddy that controls the domain of our website that requires a credit card to be on file with them for recurring annual charges. And as much as I love the township and have been using my credit card up to this point and seeking reimbursement, when we start having to give the credit card number out for recurring charges, I think we're getting to the point where we need to do something a little bit different at this point.
You can collect the miles.
That way you can go overseas again.
So, so I'm requesting permission for one specific thing, which is to open up a township credit card and use it for the GoDaddy purchase only at this point, and then to come back with a policy for the township credit card use going forward. But I am requesting that because we have to renew our GoDaddy annual membership by September 30th. And the other option is to do a prepaid Visa credit card, and that actually is a worse security because they're basically putting cash out there and anybody can clean it up. They need the number.
We should have a credit card on file.
So that's my request. I know we don't have a policy, but I'm requesting a credit card on file and only used for this one specific thing until we develop a policy. So that is my request.
We don't need a motion for that.
Yeah, we
Yeah, we
will.
don't.
I just need a simple motion along as
Who
discussed.
has the credit card?
Well, it's what,
It would be.
it has to be in somebody's
Yeah, it would be in my name, because it'd be used by Liz, so it should be in my name, that way there's second set of eyes there, doing the bills.
So I'll make a motion
name. Okay.
that we
I'll
authorize
second.
for a township credit card under Scott's name,
For
township managers.
For GoDaddy, right?
For GoDaddy, only until a policy's developed.
Okay. Motion is second. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried.
Key meetings have occurred. There was, just because I got to record all these for MS4 purposes, to be able to show that we're talking about these in public meetings. There was a Summer Avenues meeting with residents to view stormwater complaints and problems with the swale that were being impacted by one homeowner dumping clippings into the swale. On 9/11, we did have a meeting with the tax collector to talk about transitioning that resulted in your action earlier tonight. 9/12, we did have a lower staff meeting with the solicitor and with the engineer, which resulted in your other action today. 9/13, there was a meeting with the Water Sciences Institute to discuss ag conservation plans and MS4 projects, and basically looking at public-private partnerships and some other ideas that they have. They did provide me a map of hot spots in the township. I've not opened it up yet, but this came the other day, and we will be using that with our MS4 working group. Municipal planning update. Just want, if everybody wants to turn back around. Colonel Howard Boulevard, diversion diamond. Tony got this from Benderson. And obviously Benderson's interested in what's occurring at the interchange. And we talked about diversion diamonds. So I figured we could have a little video that actually shows what the diversion diamond looks like. Now ours would not be as wide as this. We would not have a 8-lane roadway coming in here. Ours is a 2-lane roadway. But this gives you a model of what a divergent diamond actually looks like and how it operates with the two signals. You can see the cars where they're stopped, and basically there's absolutely no left turn movements in this whole process.
So you won't be backed up on 222 when you come to the township?
Now, from a business perspective, this is on the, what's called on the county's MPO for federal funding. They've only approved preliminary design. From a business perspective, that was delivered to get this on MPO's TIP, Transportation Improvement Plan, for the next 5 years, because both Benderson and the township know that when they come back in with their new plan, PennDOT is going to try and make them improve the whole interchange, and that $20 million project would kill Benderson's project. By getting this on the TIP now, it gives Benderson the option to make a contribution to PennDOT instead of getting stuck with the whole project, which is a much more fair thing. So that's why I pushed to get this on the TIP. It's so that we would be business friendly with Benderson. Benderson loves the idea of this diversion diamond. They actually are Florida based, and you see this is actually a Florida project. It's very familiar in some of the other states, not quite as familiar in Pennsylvania. It will be built at the 322-222 interchange. But just wanted to give you guys a quick little video. We don't have to play the whole thing, but everybody can kind of see how it operates and how it flows. It adds a lot of free-flowing movements by eliminating the left turns. And it's what makes this such a nice retrofit. And obviously UGI did not want to see a full-blown cloverleaf line. This is their nice building either, nor does Benderson. So both Benderson and UGI are proponents of the Virgin Diamond interchange to try and address some of the traffic.
The initial concept for the Virgin Diamond is 3 lanes.
It's, well, the initial, it will not result in any widening of here. There'll be some minor tweaking and stuff like that.
So it should be 3 lanes.
It could be. It's going to vary. I don't want to answer that because it's actually going to vary as to what the lanes are going to look like underneath the bridge. But what we have underneath our bridge is wide enough to put this whole divergent diamond in. The other thing is it's not going to require right-of-way because there's a 200-foot right-of-way out there, and there's no environmental. So that makes this about as simple a PennDOT project as you can get. The bridge is wide enough underneath. There's no right-of-way acquisition. There's no environmental. No block turtles, none of that stuff, because everything's going to be within the existing footprint of Colonel Howard Boulevard. So that's the divergent diamond that we talked about.
Wow.
Were there alligators in the water?
It might be. Speeding complaints, as we had talked about, there's been a number of speeding complaints over the last year. The speed boards, if the board decides to leave them in the budget, actually would really help this process out. I mean, I guarantee you, they will be up 50 out of 52 weeks. Only time they will be down is when routine maintenance is going on. They're that valuable tool. You put it up, typically you put it up for 2 weeks, you put it up for 1 week with it off, and you gather the data, and then you put the second week up with it flashing. And if the residents get used to it, they will realize that if they frequently speed there, you see it flashing, in a couple of weeks there's going to be a police presence there. So it starts becoming intuitive. I see one of these things popping up, I need to pay attention to my speed in this area. So we want to get this thing going around the whole township on many different residential streets to address some of the speeding issues. And it will certainly have a lot of time on Reamstown Road and a couple of the other Park Street and a couple of the other areas that we have in town where we have documented speeding. We have received numerous stormwater complaints. I have worked, done another reach out to PennDOT for Smokestown Road to try and address the flooding that has frequently been occurring over the summer and just beyond Hill Road towards Smokestown Fire Department. The township is going to be basically reestablishing a swale in one area, the roadside swale, even though it's technically PennDOT's responsibility, PennDOT's refused to do it. And we're going to be putting some cross pipes underneath a couple of driveways. But there's a number of culvert pipes that cross underneath Smokestown Road that are clearly PennDOT's responsibility to maintain. I do have an active dialogue on, but they email and then stuff sits for a month, and they'll email back and stuff sits for another month. At some point, we might have to go to Representative Cox's office to kind of push the PennDOT along. But our work will start in October, and they actually will provide some relief to some of the flooding that's been occurring for some of the residents. MS4, again, I have to read this every meeting now as an MS4 requirement. The MS4 annual report is due September 28th. The report is now 80% complete. It's due next week, next Friday. For next year, so some changes that came out with what just came out with this report. We will need to update the stormwater ordinance. As we had talked with the residents back here, the 2022 stormwater ordinance, there's a check block there. Are we compliant with it? And this year I checked the block now. I can't keep checking the block now at this point on the MS4 report. So it'll be about a 2-year process, but in the next 2 years we're going to have to make our ordinance compliant with the new standard. And when we do that, it gets more strict on us. We're going to need to also set up a stormwater best management operation and maintenance program, similar to our OLS program that we do for septic system. Again, this is mandated on us from DEP. Every NPDES permit holders, everybody with detention basin, rain gardens, all these different stormwater facilities, by federal and state law, they have to be inspected annually. And now the township has to monitor that those inspections are occurring annually. Right now it's voluntary. We just have to get a letter back from the property owner or business owner saying that they have done the work. But at some point it will go from that to the municipality will have to go out and actually do the inspections themselves. So this is just the progression that we have to basically demonstrate next year that we have put a plan in place. It doesn't mean 100% of them. What we're going to do is just like Olds, where we're going to break the township into 4 quadrants for saying that initially. But at the end of this 5-year permit cycle, 100% of these facilities have to be annually reporting that they are maintaining their facilities. And more than likely, towards the tail end, the township's going to have to go and do a sampling inspection of all these facilities to verify that the work is being done. Of course, that's cost to the township and cost to all the property owners that have those facilities. The other thing that we're going to have to do is develop a stormwater violation tracking system. Tony and I have been talking about this. We're talking that we have to put all of our stuff onto a digital system. So all the notices of violations that he's already doing for zoning and for building, we now also have to incorporate that into stormwater. have to document that, we have to document when a violation occurred, what the problem was, when the corrective action was taken, and who it was verified by.
That documentation, are they requiring their software to do that? Or is
No,
that
they-
something we can do with our format?
That we can do with our form, and they just tell us what the information has to be, they don't say the software has to be.
Okay.
So, but Tony and I will be over the next month, month and a half, visiting a couple of municipalities that do have a more robust digital permit tracking system in place, and we will use that. We're looking at incorporating land development into that and building into that too. It is going to be a one-stop shop for tracking all of the permits. And it's going to be a lot of work, and it's going to be a new way of doing business, but it's getting handy for us at this point
Yeah.
to do that. And the amount of, we will talk at some point about the cost of MS4 and staffing and stuff like that. And we're going to get to the point where Tony's already done all the zoning requirements, and the stormwater work has constantly increased. He's at a daily basis now going out on stormwater complaints, and with Brent. And there's cost associated with all of that now at this point. And that will be reflected in our budget too, because I will be increasing the budget for both land studies and Becker for the MS4 compliance that we're going to have to do. The other thing, and we're not done yet, we also need to set up an illicit discharge tracking system. This is where we have to be the stormwater cops. So when someone calls in a complaint saying they're seeing something flowing into a pipe or flowing out of a pipe, or flowing into a stream or flowing into a pond, the municipality must go out there, just like the police department was, we must from a code enforcement, go out there, document it, and actually get water samples and then send samples for testing. And we have to document this whole process, again, in next year's report in a format that is acceptable to DEP. So this is all the stuff that came out of this new permit cycle that we're entering into. So the new permit report is reflecting the new 5 years, even though it was for last year's, end of our last 5-year cycle. This is for 2018. It's reflecting now the next 5 years. And so they're giving us some grace on a couple of things I'm checking no on this year because it's for last year's, the previous permit cycle. But the new permit cycle, this permit now tells us for the next 5 years, the things that we're going to be obligated going on from 2019 on.
Tony, do you have a just ballpark idea, percentage, how much this is going to take a year time? Just ballpark, do you have any idea yet? Have you thought about it?
Yeah, well, like Scott said, it's getting more and more consistent with Brent on a weekly basis on that, at least 2-3 times a week, easy, just
Now.
looking now. Percentage-wise, 20-25% of my time now, and it's going to get
Now,
worse.
and it's going to get worse in 19.
In addition to code enforcement, building permit processing,
Right.
issuing the permits, plan review, it adds up, it does.
And to kick this program off with, like we said, saying like the old program, that means every single, we have 89 of these facilities, that's 89 different properties. What we need to do is we need to sit down individually with each one of the properties, go over what their facilities are for an initial meeting. That's why we're breaking this up into quadrants. So anytime we do one of those initial meetings, that's a couple hours. You got an hour of research to pull up what was in their plans. Some of these plans are 20 years old. You got to pull up the plan for 20 years ago. Still, even if it's 20 years old, that facility hasn't been looked at for 20 years. We might have changed 2 or 3 business owners since then. And we have to then go set up a meeting. We have to pull the plan up. We have to go out with them and walk the facility. So it's almost like an initial inspection. And then we have to set up with them the reporting requirements. Like you got a detention basin, you got a swale, you got whatever they might have. Here's the inspection form you're going to have to use for that. Here's the inspection form you're going to have to use for this. By the way, the deadline to get it to us is August of every year. So then we have to have that information out and explain to them why. And then we have to give them an explanation. Why do I have to do this? I've never done this before. Well, it's because the Clean Water Act and the way the state and the EPA are interpreting it and how they have increased the standards for the Chesapeake Bay area, these are the requirements we got to do.
Scott, let me ask you this. Is this one of those things, we've been talking a lot about communication, right? Is this one of those things where we actually put together a letter or some kind of specific newsletter just for this, to make business owners and homeowners aware that this is coming and this is what this is going to entail?
We will include this stuff in our winter newsletter. But the one-on-one meetings are gonna be what's gonna be the most labor intensive, but the most critical. I can't explain this program in 20 pages. We're a face-to-face meeting, an hour and a half face-to-face meeting, that's tailored specifically to their situation.
So this is one of those things I think we should really emphasize in that fall newsletter.
One more thing,
One more thing.
Yeah. Mandated by the state.
Yeah.
So, but those are the things that came out. When I put this report together, I was like, this is new, this is new, this is new, this is new. And every one of those things that were new, I was checking, no, we haven't done this yet, no, we haven't done this yet, no, we haven't done this yet. And so the handwriting's on the wall at this point. I mean, there's absolutely no way to sugarcoat this, but it's every municipality, any MS4 municipality has the exact same requirements as we do at this point. It's not like what
Two key words in here are mandated requirement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can, no choice.
And the third word, unfunded.
Well, that's true, thank you.
That was the first word, unfunded.
Yeah.
But they don't
They don't put that
They won't
in.
put that in the paperwork.
Now, a quick example, the face-to-face meetings are really the way to get the most bang for the buck. We had a face-to-face meeting with a commercial project here in the township. Buildings have been built many, many years ago. The system hasn't been touched except for cutting the grass.
Sure. Yeah, haven't
16
looked at it,
years.
yeah.
Fred and I opened up some of the manholes, found some inlets that were buried under a foot of dirt, mulch and all that. The property owner is out of state. He's renting these two buildings out. He has no clue. Once we made him aware of it, it's conveniently unacceptable right now. You know, you can't access it. So then we get to a point where we get involved in citations to get him to the table, to fix his facility and get it functioning correctly. Otherwise, we get hammered on it.
There is a check block, just to let you know, on the MS4 report. It's nice like that citations. We have to check that every facility has been properly maintained on an annual basis. And
Once
so
we
once
start the
we
program.
once we're aware of it, if we do not enforce it, then we now own it from a fine perspective. So so some of it will come out as these things go. And again, every MS4 municipality is doing the exact same thing. It's not an East Cocalico thing. But once we see it, we can't turn a blind eye to it, because what DEP and EPA will do is they will actually take some of these inspection reports and conduct spot check audits. And that's the other thing that they've been telling us about. So just like on the code side, I was telling you this code for years. Every time Skip does a code inspection, Labor and Industries will take a couple of them, and they'll come and they will go through what he inspected and see if there's any disturbances. But the same thing is going to be occurring with stormwater now. So we will submit our annual reports, we will submit any notice of violation. If we submit a report that says there's no notice of violation discovered for the whole year, I guarantee we will have an EPA audit and we will be out $100,000 in the township with a fine. Because there are no municipalities where you can put that down and you've had no notice of violation.
Yeah.
Either you're not inspecting it, or then you're turning a blind eye to it.
Welcome to our world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you can see what my planned work is for the next 4 weeks. So with that, I conclude my report.
Any questions?
Next up. Okay, thank you. Public comments for non-agenda items.
Pool's been closed a couple of weeks, Mr. Fry. Where's the pool?
The pool was winterized yesterday, so our financial administrator's been working on a 4-year plan, and the budget, you'll have a pool report next month, okay?
Hopefully, all the bills will be turned in by then.
Hopefully.
So, you know, we're reluctant to give you any numbers, because if we do and then things come in, we got to correct it. So it's just easier to wait. It's not, nothing's going anywhere.
So the revenue should be determined already.
Pardon?
The revenue should be determined already.
The revenues were up from last year. I know that for a fact. Right, about $1,500.
Okay, Mr. Mitchell, you actually asked about the MMO. I did not see the one page that my financial administrator had given me, because I had just gotten this stuff. 2018's, after we put all the contributions in, was $458,522. 2019, assuming similar contributions, $457,939. So a slight decrease.
Depending on what the state comes.
Depending on what, again, what the state aid comes in, if they get similar aid, then we will be basically flatlined from year to year.
But no reduction.
Well, 1,000, but I would say no reduction, I'd say flatline.
Yeah, well, because the actuary report is not updated on this year, so you're not going to have much change.
Say that again.
What did you say, Joe? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The actuary report, with changing the assumptions, that's when they look at the performance of the pension assets, the pension liability, that's where you're going to see the change in the MMO more drastically or more significantly than this year. Because all your percentages, when you do the calculation, are stay the same.
Right, and 2019 is the next full MMO calculation.
Yeah.
And so Jill's right, we'll see.
And that'll be in December.
It will take into the good growth that occurred, but then we also have to look at what the assumptions are, which those will battle among others. So assumptions are living longer is one of the big assumptions.
And hopefully that won't change that much since they did that change for this year.
Yeah.
There's a big
Change a couple
assumption
years ago.
change in that, from mortality that's changing. But, Percy, get back to the budget. I was trying to go through it. Thank you for getting this through. Also, Chief, thanks for trying to come up with some cost savings, even though like the budget's not totally finalized at this point. Going through it briefly, I saw that we have some pretty major issues. We have some headwinds coming that we got $7 million shortfall at this point. I'm just hoping that with your strategic plan, you're going to have come up with more ideas to come up with ways to help with that shortfall that we have. At this point, one of the things I would like to say is it would be nice to see more of a high-level executive summary, so don't have to flip through all the pages. Quick bullet points, maybe some trend analysis between the actuals. That would help with variance analysis between your actual numbers and your budget, because that helps with determining the budget plan going forward. So hopefully something like that could be incorporated. So with my background in accounting and analysis, I'd like to extend my offer to help out the board any way that I can with this, because I know you have, you as in collectively, a lot of work yet to become on this. So, but I'd like to extend my appreciation that this is actually done, and all the efforts have been in place.
Thanks for that. It's actually, and those are actually good points. We didn't think about that, an executive overview with the simple bullet items on the key items on the budget. And as for offering to help, thank you. I personally would love to get as much help as we can get at this point, so.
I think that's a format that I'm going to try and roll out with the workshop that is along the lines of what Jill says. Not again to talk about East Central, but there is actually a packet that the manager puts together that has a summary about the big picture items and gives it a little bit clearer, and then you delve into the weeds with the actual knowledge.
And one of the things just flipping through, I just have a quick question on the EMS line for Reamstown. I know there was a budget number of $96,000, which I believe was taken out of the budget for 2018. However, it's still in the budget for future years,
As of this time now.
it's still in here.
That's correct. That was a projection that was done over the summer months. That is getting updated.
Any other questions? A motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
We adjourn, thank you.
Enough of these.
Tony, would you
Yes.